Hi, thanks for coming. Today, I'm going to talk about the fourth limb of the 8 limbs of yoga. There's the yamas and the niyamas. There's the asana, or most people think of as hatha yoga. And then there's pranayama. Pratyahara, exhalation is the 5th. 6th is meditation, or 6th is concentration, leading into 7, meditation, and finally 8, samadhi. Pranayama is 2 words, or prana, the vital air, the energy in the body, the shakti. Yama means the study of, or science of. The yogis, when they were trying to figure out self-realization, it happened hit or miss. Until finally somebody named Patanjali took all these different methods and put them into one thing called the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. And I have a link to that from this. In Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, pranayama is only mentioned a couple of times. Okay, well, if it's one of the limbs, how important is it? I mean, if it's only 2 lines out of 200 or 3 lines out of 200, it's less than 2%. But it's not really. What Patanjali says is you can determine all the pranayamas from understanding a few laws. But then he doesn't go any further. And the implication is that other people will learn, who are experts at it will teach. And if you look at the pranayama literature, if you look at the things, they tell you, yes, it can be very dangerous. And that's true. But the danger can be avoided if you understand a few things. And one of the things I'm going to show you today is an effortless pranayama brought on by a type of meditation. Okay. I have a pranayama video on Bhastrika, alternate nostril Bhastrika. And if you go and you try that, your energy is going to go up quite a bit compared to other methods. But that doesn't even have the true essence of pranayama. It's only an exercise, really, what you're doing. So today I'm going to talk about the true pranayama. I'm going to tell you what you concentrate on in your body to make the prana go bigger and faster. And I'm going to tell you about somebody named Bhusunda. Swami Shivananda has written a book, okay, this is my great guru, has written a book on pranayama. He's dedicated the book to Bhusunda, who we know lived at least 10,000 years ago. But that's not half of it. Busunda the crow has lived through 17 creations and dissolution of the universe. And there's some estimates that this universe is about 13 billion years old, and we're only halfway through. So this is a guy that really knows his stuff about pranayama, because Vasishta in Vasishta's yoga meets Busunda. And Busunda was extremely happy to meet Vasishta. Do you want to know why? We're going to do a video about reincarnation, and so this is all going to tie into this. See, when I see these videos about pranayama, I'm sorry, I just smile. They haven't got a clue. Today, when I'm finished, you're going to have a clue. Oh, that reminds me. Every time somebody teaches you something, it takes time to show you that, you create an obligation to that person karmically. I will ask you to donate some money to the Golden Lotus Fellowship. We're starting a new branch of something called the Eternal Religion. In Sanskrit, it's called Sanatana Dharma. Okay? And it's going to incorporate the best features of every religion and every non-religion. Because every religion promises you to have wealth, to have love, to have what's called dharma, or right livelihood, and finally to know God. And so that's the principle. We're going to make create a religious organization that promotes those four things. To give you some idea what's possible is that the Mormon Church is the fastest growing religion in the world. And it embodies a lot of principles of many different religions, including Christianity and Judaism. So they're the fastest growing. And the Golden Lotus Fellowship is going to go even faster than that, because we're going to give you what you want. And we're going to bring tools and techniques at your disposal that will make your life grow abundantly in every direction. That's the meaning of prosperity, to grow like a tree. So every part of your life will expand and fill. And the pranayama fits in with this, is to tap the energy to make that happen. Okay, so that's my little advertisement. Oh, the universe is telling me to tell you the story about Ramakrishna, a great Indian saint. There was a farmer who was poor, and he came to listen to Ramakrishna give talks like he would do every evening. After about 2 months, when the farmer left, he was about a block away from Ramakrishna's temple, and he heard this person running up to him, and he turned around, and who was it but Ramakrishna? And he said to the farmer, "Please, when you come, make a donation. you're building up a tremendous karma. In the next life, you're going to be my servant for my whole lifetime and yours. So please make a donation, even if it's only small, so you don't build up that karma. So all realized beings, because they are members of the eternal religion, do always try to minimize what people owe them. They don't really care about donations. I was listening to NPR, National Public Radio, today, and they were doing an investigation of some of the Daystar, I think it is, which has declared itself a religious organization. But the IRS isn't going to touch them. Even though they don't have any congregation, they don't do prayers, they don't have a facility, they just do the TV advertising. And they're worth, on their own records, about $1.3 billion. And they do give money to charities and they help support religious organizations, but only about 5% of the money goes to them. Okay. This brings me back to pranayama, strangely enough, because this whole story about Daystar is an example of the Satya Yuga moving in. Satya means truth. So people are going to become much longer lived, and they're going to be searching for the truth. And I know this, because I'm the master of truth. See? And see, even for pranayama, when Vashishta asked Busunda, how come he's such a long-lived person? Busunda says, well, you already know the answer. But you've asked me this, and so I'm going to tell you, because the highest worship of a spiritual being is to do what they ask. There's a whole thing here. We won't get into that. So when Ramakrishna made that request of that farmer, he was trying to minimize the karma of that farmer. Okay, pranayama. The truth about pranayama is it's one way to attain cosmic consciousness. Okay, let me give you some idea what Bhusunda, who is the master of pranayama, okay, because he's lived almost 100 billion years. Vashishta was amazed to find out. So Vashishta didn't know that out of those 17 cycles, only in the last 8 cycles has Vashishta appeared. Even Krishna has only appeared 15 times. Who knows them all? Bhusunda. Okay? So he's seen almost the whole expression of this universe so many times. And quantum physics is just now catching up to this whole idea. So I'm sorry to tell you, all you scientists out there and quantum guys, the eternal religion's got it knocked. You just think you're ahead. I saw this lady on the internet talking about all the quantum things, and as if they were the latest. Okay. Well, it sounds like she's got a handle on it. What do I want to color? And I checked, and it would take time away from educating the people like you. And I can see you all standing behind that lens, who want to know how to get on the fast track to realization. Okay, so I'm just now teaching some of the people that are with me how to do pranayama with retention of the breath. That is the secret of all pranayama. Okay. Well, let's start. Okay, I'm going to start by reading something from the conversation between Vasista and Busunda in this copy of Vasista's Yoga. Okay, I'm going to turn to the instructions. First of all, one of the things is that Busunda, before he gives his instructions, says the best of all states, O sage, he's talking to Vasista, is indeed the vision of the one infinite consciousness. Even the contemplation of the self, which is infinite consciousness, banishes sorrow, terminates the long dream vision of the world appearance, purifies the mind and the heart, and dispels worries and misfortunes. So pranayama, taken to its conclusion, comes to the same state of self-realization that studying the prana does. But this contemplation of the self has comrades, as it were, that closely resemble such contemplation. Among them is the contemplation of the life force, or prana, which enables one to overcome sorrow and to promote auspiciousness. Now, he doesn't tell you how to do this, but I will later. I have adopted this contemplation. So the statement from Bhusunda, he's still doing it. It is that contemplation of the prana that has bestowed longevity and also self-knowledge to me. I shall now describe it to you. So this is very important, the ordering of the infinite consciousness being closely allied to the study of the prana. Okay. Lord, so he's talking to Vasista. This is the start of the instruction. Look at this enchanting body. Okay, this is on page 355 of the softbound edition of Vasista's Yoga by Swami Venkatesananda. Okay, look at this enchanting body, which is supported by three pillars. Enchanting. The three bodies are the three nadis ? And actually the answer is both, depending on how you look at it. Endowed with 9 gates, and which is protected by the ego sense. Okay, so here's something entirely different for some of you, that your ego sense protects the body. So there's a use and a purpose for it. Which is has 8 consorts, the Puristaka, we'll talk about that later, and several relatives, the root elements. And another name for this is Tanmantras. Okay. We won't get into that this talk. We're going to move on to get to the meat of this. Enclosed right in the middle of this body are the subtle Ida and Pingala. Okay, the Ida and Pingala are 2 subtle nerve tubes, and they are associated with the spine. Okay? And in the middle of the spine is the nerves that control the body. Right in the middle of the nerves is something called the Sushumna. Okay. So we're talking about the Ida and Pingala. Okay, and when you talk about the third limb of Ashtanga Yoga, okay, Ashtanga means 8. The third limb is called Asana, and you learn to do that by manipulating the sun and the moon. Okay, in Sanskrit, the sun, a name for the sun is Ha. For the moon, it's Ta. So Hatha Yoga is the study of the sun and the moon energy in the body. So you're learning to manipulate the prana. Later on, you go on to Pranayama. See, you learn a lot when you talk to me. And we are having a conversation, if you didn't know. Okay. There are 3 lotus-like wheels. Okay? Wheels. Another name for wheels are chakras. But isn't there 7 chakras? Well, we'll get into that. These wheels are composed of bones and flesh. When the vital air wets the wheels, the prana is the vital air, the petals or the radii of these lotus-like wheels begin to vibrate. The vital airs expand on account of their expansion. Okay? So the use of language is very interesting. These nadis radiate above and below. Above and below what? Sages call these vital airs by different names, prana, apana, samyana, etc., on account of their diverse functions. These functions derive their energy from the central psychic center, which is the heart lotus. Not the heart chakra, heart lotus. There's a difference. Okay. The energy which thus vibrates in the heart lotus is known as prana. Okay. Here is the solar plexus. Here is the heart chakra. Okay, so this is the, right in between them is called the sacred heart chakra. Okay, some of you don't know this. Okay. You learn something every day. Okay. Okay. The energy which thus vibrates in the heart lotus is known as prana. It enables the eyes to see. Okay, so you're looking at me. The energy from the heart chakra is empowering the eyes to work. The skin to feel and the mouth to speak. The food to be digested, and it performs all the functions in the body. It has 2 different roles, one above and one below. And it is then known as prana and apana, respectively. So now, Busunda is making a distinction between the 5 functions. It's only talking about prana apana, because prana and apana are the sun and the moon energy. You get control of the prana by controlling these 2. Okay, well, we've gotten quite a bit out of this already. And none of this is anywhere on the web. If you can find some place where you see this, you let me know. I'm going to be really interested because that person knows. It has 2 different roles, one above and one below. And then it is known as prana and apana, respectively. I am devoted to them. This is Busunda speaking, the master of prana, which are free from fatigue, which shine like the sun and the moon in the heart. Sun and the moon, which are like cartwheels of the mind. Oh, something new. cartwheels of the mind. Wow. And which is the guardian of the city known as the body, which are the favorite horses of the king known as the ego sense. Okay. Wow. An entirely different way of looking at the ego. It's a king. Being devoted to them, I live as if in deep sleep, forever in homogeneous. Homogeneous means without any change, consciousness. So the end result of prana is to see the consciousness everywhere at the same level of energy. So that means that a little ant is completely filled with consciousness as your highest mind and beyond. There's a statement, a meditation. I'll give you the English translation. From this infinity has come this infinity. Even though this has come from that infinity, all that remains is infinity. So he says, Busunda has attained that. Okay, this is all an attitude about pranayama, showing that how it connected to the infinite consciousness. So all this was just the start, but what a start, of the prana study. He who adores the prana and the apana thus is not reborn in this world again, and he is freed from all bondage. Okay, let's talk about self-realization. What are the characteristics of self-realization? He has complete freedom. Even from the guy that talks to him about the freedom. He only becomes an arm or a leg or even a hair on his finger of the infinite consciousness. So your teacher, your guru, should know that he's only saying what the infinite consciousness has commanded him to. So one of the things you should know, if I'm that little hair on his finger, this is God talking. Hello? And what should he be saying to you? That you are that infinite consciousness as well. So when you go to people about Shaktipat, you go to people about all this other stuff, the Shaktipat comes from within yourself, from the universal consciousness within yourself. Oh, somehow they forgot to mention that, didn't they? Well, that only, so that not only makes you think that you have to do something because that person gave something to you and may be able to take it away. Is that freedom? And is the giver of Shaktipat free? I will submit to you, they're not. So Busunda says, he who adores the prana and the apana thus is not reborn. Okay, well when you adore something and you love it, it means that you have an emotional upwelling. And that's true. Your energy is off the charts. and you feel great. This is better than a lover, unless they are also realized. Now we'll get into that some other time. Prana is constantly in motion inside and outside the body. Prana is that vital air which is established in the upper part. Okay? Apana is similarly and constantly in motion inside and outside the body. Okay, so when you're breathing in and out, but the breath happens inside the body. Here the prana, apana move outside the body. And we will get into that in just a little bit. Okay. Pray listen to the practice of the extension or the control of this life force. What does that mean? Okay, what it means is the extension means that the breath or the prana goes outside the body. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay, so doing pranayama and seeing the results completely convince your subconscious that you're not just the body. Because you're having an effect outside the body and the mind. There's something connecting you to something else. That something else eventually becomes the infinite consciousness. Okay, so listen to the practice of the extension or the control. So the control and extension are identical, which is conducive to the welfare of one who is awake or asleep. Okay, and one of the things you're going to learn as you do the pranayama is that after you're finished with it correctly, your energy continues to go up. Why? Because the truth of the prana is educating your subconscious. And as your subconscious makes connections to all this, it releases the bound up energy that is the kundalini, that is in your reality. The efflux, okay, so you're going to learn a few words. Efflux means to breathe out. Of the vital air force centered in the heart lotus of its own accord and without effort is known as rachaka or exhalation. So that's real simple. Okay? So watch. I'm going to breathe in. Did it take any effort on my part? No. Effortless. Okay, and breathing out also is effortless. Now, okay, here we go. Is known as rachaka or exhalation. The contact with the source of the pranic force, which is located downward to the length of 12 fingers, in the heart's lotus is known as puraka, or inhalation. Okay, so let's take that measurement. He doesn't explain it, so I'm going to explain it to you. Okay. Third eye, Ajna chakra. You take one set of fingers, two set of fingers, 4, 8, 12 fingers length comes right here. Wherever that is on your body, that's where your heart chakra is. Okay? Now, watch this. 12 finger lengths above is above the head. Okay, we'll continue. The contact with the source of the pranic force, which is located downward to the length of 12 fingers in the heart lotus, is known as puraka or inhalation. Okay, so the prana has its start here. Where does it end? It doesn't end here, it ends here. And it starts there, and it ends here. So this is halfway. Okay, we'll get to that in just a little bit. Okay, got a question for you. How much of this is new to you, even if you studied pranayama? Yep. So they didn't know, or they weren't telling. Okay, when the apana has ceased to move, and when the prana does not arise and move out of the heart, until these begin to happen, is known as kumbhaka. Retention is of a filled pot. So now, this cylinder that's been created in your mind is now compared to a pot. There are said to be 3 points for the Richaka, Kumbhaka and Puraka. Outside the nose, actually it's talking at the root of the nose. See, they don't tell you all those things. People think, oh, it's outside this nose. They don't knows. Okay. So we're going to talk about retaining the breath. Okay. As if a filled pot. Okay, if you put water into a pot, what does the water do? Okay, if it's water, it becomes still. The reason they give you this image is because whenever you hold the breath somewhere, kumbhaka, and the longer you hold the breath, the more you're keeping the kundalini from manifesting. And it starts to vibrate. Okay. When some people hold the breath too long, do you still have control? No. Okay. And people don't realize is that they're really altering their reality. And in the initial stages of holding the breath, to have your breath become ragged when you breathe out or breathe in is not such a big deal. The big deal comes later. Because when the energy has filled the pot, now if you let it out, it's going to damage your reality. By damage, I mean you could die. This is where the danger comes from. And this is why I've been reluctant to talk about this. Okay? So there's a liability associated with teaching pranayama. Okay, even Swami Shivananda in his book about pranayama doesn't say very much. He doesn't get into any of this. And Satyananda didn't either. my own guru. So, what I'm going to show you today is the natural retention. When that occurs, then you come out of that naturally. There's no awareness of the control. Okay, and if you like that, I'm going to show you, if you get in contact with me, to make it even more powerful. So if you think that this is powerful, you have no clue how much energy. Okay, the only thing you're going to know, this is more powerful than anything you've ever done before. Okay, that's your criteria. If you've got something that gives you more energy than this, you come to me. I want to know. Okay? When the outgoing air, let me go back. Pray, listen to the natural and effortless movement of the life force at all times. So what Busunda is doing, even while he's talking to Vashishtha and carrying on a conversation, he's listening to that life energy come up and go down. And it's releasing tremendous energy inside his being. The movement of the vital air up to the extent of 12 fingers from oneself constitutes real chakra. Okay. The state in which the apana force remains in the Davasanta, like the unfashioned pot in a potter's clay, should be known as external kumbhaka. Okay, so you're breathing out, that's the apana. When you're breathing in, that's the prana. So the prana starts at the heart chakra, it goes up to the middle, third eye, and then it goes 12 finger lengths up. And while you hold the breath there, and you're looking at something, that's the external kumbhaka. You exhale, and the energy comes down to the heart chakra. That's the apana moving. There's a point when the energy goes up, and before it starts down, something is happening there. Okay. So, this video is made for you to go back and listen to it and talk again. So so do this after I'm finished, go back and take a look. When you hold the breath here, and you're looking with your eyes closed to see the start of the exhalation, which is apana. Okay, so the prana stops, the apana has not begun. As you watch that point, something very interesting happens. Okay, you cannot see at first where the breath stops and then starts. What you see is the breath is going up and going up and going up and going up. And before it gets to the top, something happens and you don't see it anymore. The next thing you see is you see the breath coming down, coming down, coming down. You didn't see where it stopped and turned around and come down. So your attention is at that point, and as you pay attention to that point, your breath is stopped, but you're not paying attention to the breath itself. You're paying attention to the energy approaching that infinite point. Okay, so let me read to you and he goes through, and you can go read Vasista's Yoga. Okay, he's talking about the different types of kumbhakas. Okay, but the one I'm giving you is just this exercise. Okay. It's like there's an internal puraka. Okay. He who knows these kumbhakas is not born again. Whether one is going or standing, awake or asleep, these vital airs, which are naturally restless, are restrained by these practices. Then whatever he does or eats, he who knows these kumbhakas is not the doer of those actions. In a very few days, he attains the supreme state. He who practices these kumbhakas is not attracted by external objects, because the energy that comes from these practices overwhelms any other desire. They who are endowed with this vision, whether they are stationary or moving, active or inactive, are not bound. They have attained what is that which is worthy of being attained. Okay? Well, here's a guy that's lived forever almost. And he talks about how he comes back after the destruction of the universe, and he has new houses, new people that help him, and servants. Okay. When the impurity of one's heart and mind have been destroyed by thus being devoted to prana and apana, one is free from delusion, attains inner awakening, and rests in one's own self, even while doing whatever has to be done. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is go back, look at that point, okay, and see if you can see where it shifts from going up to going down. After you've, so you come down and you take a look at where the apana ends and the prana starts. Okay, the same thing happens at this point. And then, okay, I want you to, after you've done this like 6, 8, 10 times, I want you to go through a complete cycle up and down, and then come back to here and hold the breath. Touch it with your middle finger and just feel the energy. You do that, and your energy is going to be through the roof. Okay? 10 is the outside limit. You may not be able to make it. If you do it right, the energy will go up huge. Okay? So that's all you know. Okay? You can always send me an email. I don't like to write too many answers. I prefer to talk. If you send me an email and you want to talk, I'll talk. And if there's more to be known, I will help somebody help you that already knows this. Okay? And you'll have the benefit of knowing somebody who was like you, who is now an expert. So that's the real reason why I have people help others. So you can know that this is something that's transmitted. Okay. Good luck. Let me know if I can help you more. Thanks.